Tune in. The Back Hair Party presents The Real Talk Show, where we talk about friendship, love, and purpose. Right here is your host, JRX36, and this is an All Ages Alliance production.
Yeah. In my own words, get straight to it. Day 104, I believe this is. 104, Jay? 104. We got JJ checking us, tuning us in.
Yet. Let me go ahead and find the rectangle. Alright, now we'll go ahead. Get some water.
JJ setting me up, getting the water. I still hear the volume in the background. We'll probably get that next. Just setting it up for JRX 36. Well, wait, how are you doing? It's good to see you again. And I'm talking about you right there. Yeah. Now, in real life, I'm talking about this little circle that looks like a camera, but in the Neo into reality vibranium, I'm talking to you. And you know who you are. It's you right there on the other side. Watching me talk. Oh, there he goes.
Tune in. The Black Hair Party presents The Real Talk Show. We talk about friendship, love, and purpose. Friendship has everything to do with aura. Love is a more. And purpose is about saving time. I am JRX 36, Alexandra Blackton. This is an All Ages Alliance production.
That's right. Got the black glasses on.
Wow, bright, super bright.
Super bright.
Super bright. So today we're going to talk about what it means to save time.
Save time.
Save time. What to do with your time.
That's what this is all about. Saving time. That's my mission. I'm on it.
Board, save time.
One day at a time.
Oh, I just shared my screen.
Oh, cheers. And look at me when you're talking to me, please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Oh, maybe I won't.
Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Let's go. Almost need more water.
Here we go. Bored saves time. So the question is, if you're bored, right? I have time to consume. So if you're bored and you have time to consume, the question is, what will you do?
Save time.
You're going to entertain yourself or you're going to edutain yourself? Either way, you got some options. You can entertain / edutain yourself through watching movies, listening to music, watching or consuming movies, consuming music, consuming TV series / shows, consuming the content of your favorite influencer, consuming the content of your favorite social media or favorite app, consuming content around electronic gaming, consuming content around board games, and or consuming content around playing cards. There are more categories of which you can consume content, but the main idea is that if you're bored and you have some time, what are you going to do? Are you going to entertain yourself or edutain yourself? And in this instance, the question is, are you going to consume or create? And if you're going to consume, these are the main categories of consumption. So now let's assume that you are choosing not to consume. So then if you're choosing not to consume and you're essentially choosing to save time, the question is, do you have time to work? If you have time to work, then you can put your effort, use your energy towards completing a project. At this time, I won't go over the different projects that you can use your energy towards completing. I'll save that for another show. However, I will go over what it means or what it takes to use your time to create and or practice your art and or craft. Save time. I have time to create / practice. So then the question is, okay, I have time. Am I going to do this alone, solo? Am I going to do this one-on-one? Am I going to do this in a group? Now, what is it that I'm going to be doing? These are the categories of that it which you will be doing. And there are more categories. However, these are the general categories in no particular order. I have time to create / practice dance. So when I think dance, I think about any type of form of dance, whether you're dancing by yourself, dancing with a partner, dancing within a group.
Dance.
A thing to do if you're bored and you're wanting to save time is to use your time to create and or practice dancing, using your body to move. Second one is athletics, which is along the lines of dance. In athletics, you're using your body to move in a particular pattern, in a particular way. It allows you to use your muscles. And
Basketball is my personal favorite because it kind of causes you to want to be ambidextrous, although you should in every sport. However, with basketball, because of the dribbling and attacking the basket and driving to the basket, either from the left side or the right side, it causes you to want to be ambidextrous.
your body towards executing certain movements. So we got dance, we have athletics, and both relate to the use of your body, your physical body, and how it expresses itself. The next one would be voice. So when it comes to voice, that means you could sing, you could rap, speak rhythmically, you could recite a poem, you can use your voice, beatbox. You can use your voice
This
as part of the creation process. And when I think voice, I think singing. I think of the use of your voice to communicate or express ideas, not necessarily in a talking format. That would be the next one that I would mention. I was thinking just more about singing. The next activity that you could practice and or create content around. So this whole category has to do with creating content and practicing a particular form of expression, be it dance, be it athletics, be it voice, be it streaming. And when I'm thinking of streaming, I'm thinking of being able to use your voice to facilitate an experience, whether you're hosting a podcast or hosting a live stream. The idea of streaming is that you're going to be hosting some experience in which you will be entertaining, educating, or serving some sort of function. Like,
Listen, would I be able to for you to pause a little bit so Mara can go make some milk for the baby so you can stop crying?
you want me to make milk?
Well, Mari was gonna make the milk.
Okay. So she wants me to pause.
Yes, I guess so that way she can go make the milk and the crying isn't into being recorded.
Okay.
Mayday, 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 baby crying. Oh,
I'm back.
he's
For you, it was just a second. For me, it was about a minute, 2 minutes, maybe 3. I don't know. But I'm back.
just
All
like
right. So pick up where I think I left off. If you have time to create / practice a craft and art, these are the categories of which you can choose to express yourself. And I just gave the next category, arts and crafts. But I want to take a step back and continue on streaming, which is a form of expressing yourself via using your voice. So we got streaming.
streaming is a form of entertainment.
The next one that I'd like to talk about would be arts and craft. So if you have time to create content or practice a skill, you can choose to use your time to create arts and or crafts. That is going to include everything and anything that you could create with your hands. I'm thinking drawing, painting, sculpting, pottery, and more. These are things you can do when you're bored and you have time to consume and or create, but you're choosing to be productive and creative, and you're choosing to practice an art and or skill and or craft. We talked about dance, athletics, we talked about voice, we talked about streaming, we talked about arts and crafts, using your hands.
It's easy as drawing,
And that's going to encompass lots of different particular activities. And since now we're using our hands, we could choose to talk about instruments. If you have time to create indoor practice and you wanted to save time, you could use your time to express yourself through the instruments. Um, any instrument, including guitar, piano, violin, turntable. Those are all instruments that you can choose to use your time um, to express yourself. Um, and after instruments, I'd like to talk about gaming. You can use your time towards gaming. Gaming is an art. You can create content around gaming, whether it be board games, playing cards, and or e-gaming, or other. Gaming is a skill that or can encompass or can can include skills that could be used to express yourself. Gaming being the vehicle by which you express yourself. So after gaming, you can also choose to create content and or practice. Go with social media. So gaming is a platform that you can use online as well. So now social media is it's a newer form of expression. I'm thinking texting or messaging. I'm thinking whether it's commenting, sharing, liking. There's an art to that. And
Even blogging and vlogging.
documenting yourself doing that, then it's a way of creating content. So you can create content by documenting or capturing your use of social media, and the execution of interacting with others. It's an art, and it's something that is a tool of expression. So the next one I'd like to use electronics. So electronics, I'm referring to, could include gaming, could include social media. But in this case, I was thinking more about like radio control cars, drones, robotics, and other. But the idea of the electronic
Device.
mm,
Technology.
I don't have a word for it. An electronic, I don't want to call it game, electronic device, an electronic device. The use of electronic devices to create content and or express yourself. Some individuals like to race cars or race drones. These are activities that one can practice and create content around in an effort to stay productive and creative rather than just on the side of being consumers. The next one I'd like to talk about would be acting. And I guess acting would be using all of the aforementioned skills in total or in individually, or however you can dance while you act. You can use your voice while you act. You can perform athletic movements while you act. You can use instruments while you act. You can game while you act. You can do arts and craft while you act. Essentially, we are actors acting in this game of life, performing a script, our life, by creating identities that are shaped by the activities that we choose to use to express ourselves. So acting is a practice that can be used to create content, essentially be creative. And so after acting, I'd like to talk about knowledge. And knowledge, I mean the practice of informing oneself, whether it's not necessarily the consumption of
Learning.
information, but it's the integration of information.
And this, but it's
and that can be expressed through some of the skills that we mentioned, or not. But the idea that the interaction with knowledge, and we'll talk more about what it means to put knowledge into practice when we talk about contemplating and visualizing. But for now, we'll just leave it at that. Fashion. Yes, talk to me, baby.
Oh, I'm more loud too. I'm more loud.
Fashion is a form of expression that one can use that one can dedicate time and attention to. You can do it alone. You can do that one-on-one or in a group. All these you can do alone, one-on-one, or in a group.
And it matters.
And
how you doing?
The last, and then I guess fashion falls under arts and craft. And
doing it one way may produce more ease than do it another way. So if you're wanting to experience ease, you go for the one that produces ease. If you are have the energy and you're willing to serve, then you choose the one that causes you less ease.
And it could be like runway fashion. It could be commercial or print fashion, where it encompasses the use of several of these forms of expression. And then I guess I should have mentioned this one alongside of athletics, which is mixed martial arts. But we could save it for last in that the practice of practicing or the practice of creating content can be approached in the same manner that one can approach the mixed martial art. Because it could be like mixed media art.
Yeah, you don't got to call it martial art, mixed media art, mixed martial and media art, mix. You know, you could just create a new label for it, but treat it in that same way. That way, you can develop the discipline to practice every day.
Art, where it's the idea that it's an art to practice this mixture of skills and or activities. And this is what you can do if you want to save time. If you want to be on the creative side of creation, of practicing, these are activities that you could use. These are activities that you could engage in to express yourself creatively. And so now I want to talk about forms or activities or ideas that you can engage in if you're seeking to use your time, not necessarily to create and or practice, but to contemplate and or visualize. And both contemplation and visualization can be done individually, as a solo, one-on-one, or in a group. First, I'd like to focus on contemplating. And in the contemplation, there are three main categories, major categories, and a subset of categories that guide the contemplation process. We have family, friends, and foes. So to contemplate, to think long about, to be thoughtful about family, friends, and foes. Family includes our lover. Family includes our mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters, our uncles and aunts. Friends include those individuals who are within our sphere of influence, whether they're closer than family, whether they're not so close, and I'm saying relationally wise. They could be, acquaintances, peers, or whether they're foes, meaning either family or friends that are now in opposition to us. And we want to think long and thoughtfully about these major categories of people: family, friends, and foes. And when I'm thinking about family, friends, and foes, these are the subcategories I like to consider. Identity. So when I think about identity, I think about the patterns of behavior that individuals choose to adopt as they go about living their lives. This is like personality types. These are boxes that individuals put themselves in based on how they choose to behave. And depending on the personality, there are personality types that have been organized by psychologists through times, and I don't necessarily want to go in depth about that, but I want to talk about the major categories in which people often would fall into when expressing their identity. And when I think about the expression of identity, I think about how people self-define their behaviors, or their motives, or the way they justify their behaviors. So I'm thinking of like the certain personality types that considers introversion versus extroversion, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, whether you are conscientious or not conscientious, whether you're open or not open. And you may be able to identify what I'm talking about by hearing me mention those major categories. But there are other types that people could fall into. And these are self-defined identities that express themselves. And I don't want to suggest that these are static. Identity can be elastic. It's something that changes over time based on experiences, based on trauma. But it's important to consider.
And then with personality types, the ones I just mentioned are one approach at identifying or defining or diagnosing or labeling personalities. There's the Myers-Briggs. I may talk about it.
In my opinion, if you're going to contemplate about family, friends, and foes, it's important to create these boxes that then we can in a more informed way engage with individuals based on their perceived identity or identification. And we got ethics, and I'm thinking about.
So with personality, you got the Myers-Briggs. That's the like INTP, or the 4 categories that deal with introversion, thinking, feeling, perceiving, judging, abstract, concrete. It's the second one's not. It's I can't remember. But yeah, so those are personality types, and I guess I'm continuing with ethics now.
Like why the why behind why people choose to do what it is that they do. So,
You're bored and you're saving time. What you're gonna do, and why are you gonna do that? You're gonna do A because the B, or you're gonna do C because the A. So like, why do you do what you do? That's going to play a role into the personality and identity you're choosing to
you
be.
are you performing an action? Are you doing something based on the consequences? Are you doing it based on law or principle? Are you doing it based on a virtue? Um, and to have an understanding as to the ethical approach to decision making can give clarity or can uh, allow you to better engage others based on their ethical decision making framework. It's also important to think about mindset. When I think about mindset, I'm thinking about whether they have a growth oriented mindset or a fixed oriented mindset. Knowing which type of mindset one is choosing to engage in does allow for better engagement or more conscious engagement. So far I mentioned identity, ethics, mindset. Um, I'm including character sets, and by character sets, I'm thinking about clusters of character traits that one can adopt um, as one chooses to identify oneself um, in this world. Um, for instance, a person can choose to be temperate, humble, courageous. They could choose to be tolerant, honest, compassionate. I would just call these character sets. You got mindsets, how one goes about um, learning, you know, based on experiences. It could be growth-oriented mindset, the idea that one can, over time, uh, be flexible with one's identification with um, one's mindset. Like one can grow, or one is fixed and is very grounded. I guess I'll call it the fixed approach, a more grounded approach, which is probably not the best choice of word to use in this instance. Um, but
I guess by grounded I mean more static, less elastic, more fixed. Not to say that it cannot change, but by being grounded is you're more firm in your belief, more rooted.
I hope that you can follow me. Um, and then when contemplating, these are additional subcategories that one can choose to entertain um, during this process of contemplation. And it's about, one can contemplate about dating, how dating or courting relates to our families, friends, and foes' decisions.
And what is the purpose of courting and dating? Is it for procreation, having a baby? Is it for entertainment, for companionship? It matters how you go about dating for one versus the other. If you're going to approach dating with the intention of finding a partner to mate with, that should be a little different than if you're going into dating with the purpose of having a good time, or basic companionship minus the intimacy, or companionship with intimacy but with no desire to procreate or have a baby.
To identify in a certain way or their mindset and etc. Parenting and business. So dating, parenting, and business are things that our family, friends, and foes engage in that um, allow us to collect data that will allow us to create identity boxes, ethical framework boxes, mindset boxes, character set boxes, so that we can better understand our family, friends, and foes. And the whole purpose of this is if you're trying to save time and you don't want to necessarily create content or practice a specific skill, you can use your time to contemplate. You can do it alone, you can do it one-on-one, you can do it in a group. And when you're contemplating, you're thinking about these major categories: family, friends, and foes. And when I'm thinking about family, friends, and foes, I'm thinking about their identity, their ethics, their mindset, their character sets, their set of character traits that they're choosing to embody, um, when they are dating, parenting, or conducting business. And I guess we could add politics, business slash politics, or when I think about politics, I think about how one engages others, not necessarily in a political arena, but a case could be made that
Civically.
being in the public is a political arena. So dating, parenting, business, and public/politics. So that would be contemplation. Now let's talk about visualization. You can do it alone, one-on-one, or in a group. When I'm thinking about visualization, I'm thinking about finances, fantasies, and fears. These are major categories that we could choose to engage in forethought. We can choose to think about our finances, the direction that we want to move, and the destination that we want to arrive at when it comes to finances, our fantasies, and then fears. Like, what are we afraid of? What are the categories, or what are the issues, concerns, the phobias that we may have that limit our visualization or that affect our visualization? And the subcategories under finances, fantasies, and fears are our survival, social, and soul needs. Our survival needs, our social needs, our soul needs come with fears, or may come with fears, or maybe in response to our fears, we choose to identify ourselves, or choose to live, or choose to come from, or choose to visualize life from a particular need, such as our survival needs, social needs, or our soul needs. Survival needs, I'm thinking about the basics: food, shelter. When I think about social needs, I think about family, friends, and foes. When I think about soul needs, I think about our fantasies. And by fantasies, I mean our dreams and aspirations, our motivations and inspirations. Um, and soul needs, I'm thinking about growth, thinking about the idea of realizing our fullest potential. So being able to visualize our survival, social, and soul needs allows us to um, be able to be in a better position to visualize our best life as it relates to finances and accomplishing our goals.
And the goal would be to move towards flow as you relate to these conversations, because if you're having these conversations from a state of anxiety, then it's going to be unhealthy. It's going to be unpleasant. So, to the degree that you can have these conversations from a relaxed, confident perspective, to that degree, you're going to experience flow or ease. And that's the purpose of contemplating, visualizing, and meditating, or essentially saving time, is to find the pattern of living, the lifestyle, the thoughts that produce ease. So doing the right thing at the right time can produce ease.
And a subcategory that I think is important to talk about would be power and privilege. When I'm thinking about power and privilege, I'm thinking about sources of power and sources of privilege. There are in a society that we live in, there are certain sources of power, such as wealth, intelligence, initiative, sexual attraction, emotional intelligence, privileges such as gender, race, age, class, ethnicity um, of the individual. Um,
So why would I call those intersections privileges? Well, because to the degree that you identify with one of those groups, there's norms associated with the thinking within those subgroups that then cause you to be part of a team or part of a group that then causes groupthink that can then produce about advantages and disadvantages when engaging in public privileges, for instance. So there is such thing as white privilege. There is such thing as gender privilege, female privilege, male privilege. Like all these privileges, age privilege. These privileges exist. Now, doesn't mean that it's right or wrong or indifferent. They exist by the mere fact that these categories exist, where people identify with these categories and cause them to have thoughts about the group, the the collective within that category.
that you're engaging with, or that you yourself identify with. Control and the correction. When I think about control and correction, I think about manipulation and deception, understanding how individuals control and or restrict the movements of others and correct others through their use of words is important in an effort to be able to better visualize the finances, fantasies, and fears. And lastly, time and space. So how one chooses to engage or relate to time and space um, can bring clarity to one's pursuit of ease or dis-ease, but I'm going to assume ease when it comes to the categories of finances, fantasies, and or fears. And I say fears, I think about, as it relates to time and space, I think about death. So how one is able to visualize one's death allows one to better visualize one's life, one's goals, one's destinations, specifically one's fantasies. one's best life. And one's best life is uh, it comes about one giving thought um, to the social, to the survival, to the soul needs of the individual, one's acknowledgement, one's um, identification of one's power and or privilege, one's or control and or correction orientation, and one's position in time and space. So if one has time to create and or practice, one can focus one's energy on the skills and arts and or crafts that were mentioned earlier, such as dance, voice, athletics, etc. Um, and if one is choosing not to create content and or practice any of those skills, arts, and or craft, one can choose to contemplate, and those are the that's what one can do with one's time and give thought to those major priorities I mentioned earlier: family, friends, and foes, um, visualization, fears, fantasies, and finances. So these are all things that one can do to save time. When you think about saving time, think about socializing, think about achieving, think about vibing, think about exploring. So explore the inner workings of your mind, of your attention, of your focus. Socialize when in a group with others, with yourself, with a technological device that records. You know, engage with others on these topics and subtopics in an effort to be able to have clarity into your position in life and be able to use that which we all have in common, which is time. I am time, you are time. So save time, contemplate, visualize, use your time to create and or practice. And if you're bored, use your time to consume. You can consume with the goal of entertaining yourself, or you can consume with the goal of edutaining yourself. And you have options. Those are you can consume the content of creatives and practitioners um, with the intention of being able to better inform yourself or be able to add to your ability to personally create content in those areas, and ultimately putting you in a position to be creative and finding work being these major projects that you can dedicate your practice towards or your creative endeavors towards. And we'll leave the major categories of work for another day. But these are the things that one can do with time. You can contemplate, you can visualize, you can create and or practice. And lastly, you can meditate. Meditate is like the brother of sleep, which is the cousin of death. So you can meditate, clear your mind, live in the moment, and empty your thoughts in the categories I just mentioned. Empty your thoughts about identity, empty your thoughts about ethics, empty your thoughts about mindset.
That's the goal, is to reset, clear your mind, and to clear it is to then be able to more objectively, with clarity, pursue your interests.
Empty your thoughts about character sets. Empty your thoughts about dating, parenting, business, politics. Empty your mind about your social survival and soul needs. Empty your mind about power and privilege. Empty your mind around control and correction. Empty your mind about time and space and just be. And that's meditation. It's not visualization. It's not contemplation. It's meditation. And meditation is akin to sleep. Now, when you sleep, you dream. Now, meditation is not a time to dream. Visualization is a time to dream, daydream. Contemplation is time to think. Meditation is a time to empty yourself of thinking, to be in the moment and be empty, to be void, to be current, to be present.
To be current, current, present.
So leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
In a future moment, we can go into more depth on contemplation, visualization. In future moments, we could show examples of creative practices. But for now, we'll leave it at that. This has been an All Ages Alliance production. And today we talked about what you can do when you're bored. Save time. Contemplate, visualize, meditate, consume, or create.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? What are you doing? What are you gonna do next? You're gonna save time. You're gonna go edutain yourself. You're gonna go create something, practice an art, a craft, or something.
Ninja man.
What you about to do, man? Huh? You're gonna go dance, play basketball, play football, doodle, draw, go make some graph. ET. Oh, you about to tune it out with some audio. get hit with copyright. We don't want to get hit with no copyright. So we're just gonna close it out like that. About to just close it out. Tune out, Jaden. Let's see if JJ's around so he could tune us out. I'm gonna about to. So it's about.
Tell me what you want. Don't wait, let me make a connection, babe. Tell me what you want. Don't wait, no bullshit. I'm packing all of this real shit.
Or maybe I wasn't gonna tune us out. Yeah. All right. Okay, you can tune us out. He's not talking.
Tune out, tune out, tune out. The Backyard Party has presented the Real Talk Show, where we talk about friendship, love, and purpose. That was your host, JRX36, and this is an All Ages Alliance production. And we will see you next time. Take care now. Deuces. Bye-bye.